I want to ask you something else about old school wrestling, and man, maybe you'd be inclined to have an opinion. MLW just recently formed a nice little faction. I mentioned a few moments ago that Brock Anderson, the son of Arn Anderson, is teaming with his cousin CW Anderson, and they've had a lot of fun on some independents. But now they've created a new faction with Bobby Fish and Brett Ryan Gosselin, and they're now the Rogue Horsemen in MLW. And I know that MLW has done Extreme Horsemen once upon a time with Simon Diamond and CW Anderson and Steve Carino. That was like 20 years ago. But the Rogue Horsemen, it does feel like an homage and a tip of the cap. And I know that CW Anderson's always believed they're honoring the Horsemen. But what do you think about a more modern version of the Horsemen? And you've got the real life son of the founder, the creator of the Horsemen, Arn Anderson's son, Brock Anderson,
Yeah,
in
he's
MLW.
he's a good kid. I like Brock. He's
Agree.
respectful and he's nice and he's reliable. And he's getting a great education to sitting in the car with his dad because I don't nobody has more respect for Arn Anderson than me. I know he's on your air. He's the fact that he's doing a podcast is shocking to me. I guess it's still rolling along, and he seems to be more active on social promoting it. So I think that's a good thing. But as long as they can make it different, it's got a different look and a different feel. So in other words, I would not get a Ric Flair look-alike.
Right.
Uh, you can't replicate Ric Flair. So I don't need a blonde wearing suits and Rolex watches guy. But so my point is, as long as the new horseman, shall we say, for the sake of for the lack of a better term, uh, I think as long as they have their own uniqueness, they got their own personality, and I think that's very the key to the success of that group. And of course, inevitably, I've never seen it not happen. Uh, at least probably there's some illustration, but a lot of times when you have a faction, Conrad, you have uh, you have a star that's going to break loose. Now that star may be Brock Anderson. He's young and he's trained, and again, he's got every quality that a promoter would want, and he's got great lineage. So he's been taught well. So I as long as they can have their own personality and be a little bit different, and not try to do lookalikes or things of that nature. Playing the role of Arn Anderson is, that kind of thing. You can't.
Right.
Those guys are irreplaceable, and so I think it's an insult to the fans to try to copy something that they've already seen. Uh, just doesn't make any sense to me.
Let's talk a little bit about a big announcement that happened earlier in the week. It's coming down the pike that Saturday night's main event is back. I can't believe this is a real thing, but somehow WWE is back on NBC. And on December 14th in Long Island, New York, they'll be presenting Saturday night's main event. And as I understand it, that's going to be simulcast on both NBC and Peacock. What do you make of this announcement here that Saturday night's main event is coming back?
Well, before I got to WWE, I was a avid watcher of their TV product, and I always looked forward to the Saturday night's main event. They had some moments there. There was a place where you knew you were going to have a big audience. So let's shoot some angles. Let's see what we can get over. And so and it's a new program. There's a whole audience out there that they weren't even born when the Saturday night's main event was created. I know I was brought back to WWE after one of my uh, absences, uh, contract issues, so forth. But anyway, I made it too complicated. That's my fault. Uh, but I went back and did a Saturday night's main event. It seemed like it was from Detroit, and I had been off for quite some time. But because they were having mixed talents on the show, they thought that I would be a good fit there because I wasn't affiliated with Raw or SmackDown at that time. So I think it's a good idea. It's fresh, it's new. I think if they play up the history of the event and all the things that happened on it, and the stars that appeared and were made, largely on Saturday night's main event. It'll give the event itself more credence and more spotlight. So hey, give it a shot, man. See what happens. I have no. I'm not against any of that. I think that they may find a hit, and I would bet if it hits, they would do one maybe once a quarter, something like that. But it would have a rotation that didn't overexpose it.
Let's talk about somebody else who hasn't been overexposed just yet. He just recently made his WWE commentary debut. Joe Tessitore is now steering the ship for Monday Night Raw, and it's something that I have been waiting to sort of pick your brain about. Have you seen any of his work in WWE, and what do you think of these first efforts that you've seen so far?
I've only seen a clip or two, Conrad. I'm not boycotting. I just wasn't at the front of the television at that time. But I think he does a great job for somebody that's just showed up. I haven't heard the internet world go crazy that he doesn't understand, like Mike Adamle, for example. God bless Mike. But I guess apparently Joe Tessitore is a fan and had a decent knowledge of what's going on and what pro wrestling's all about. So a good hire, seems like, and they still got good teams. I think that hey, isn't that kid that's on your air, Sam Adonis? He's the brother of
Corey Graves.
Corey Graves. And, when I found that out late in the game, I would, I would stare at his face. It sounds weird, but he did. You can tell they're brothers.
Yes.
They have a resemblance.
Yeah, they favor. Yeah,
they favor each other. So it's I think a good hire. These fresh voices are good. I think that's what helps me in AEW is I'm not on TV every week. So hopefully being on regularly, but I don't know how to say it. I'm not there every week. And so hopefully when I'm there, it's special. I will do all I can physically and mentally to make it special. But that's the end of the day. That decision is going to be delivered by the fans and the ratings.
Let's talk about some other free agent news and notes, if you will. There was an interview that came out when Matt Riddle was doing a little media to promote MLW at Center Stage, and he was asked about the possibility of working with AEW, and he had mentioned that he had attended an AEW event and he met Tony Khan, but he's not sure Tony Khan liked him. I don't have any inside track or scoop whatsoever. Would you be surprised to see Matt Riddle in AEW? Do you think there's an opportunity for Matt in AEW?
I don't know if there's an opportunity there or not. If they decided Dave meaning AEW pronoun boy, I would suggest that he'd be given a shot. And I understand Tony's reluctance because Matt has a little baggage, and how much that baggage weighs, I don't know. But I know he's a very talented kid. He's got a great look. He's got that Kevin Von Erich look. He wrestles barefoot, or usually when I saw him last, he was wrestling barefooted. And so I will never say never. I don't know that it's even on the drawing board. Have no idea. That's a Tony Khan thing. Nothing I'm involved in. And whatever Tony Khan does, I'll do my best to make it work in my role. So, but he's a look. You can't never turn your back on talented wrestlers who are still. I guess Matt Riddle's probably in his early 30s, late 20s. I'm not sure how.
Yeah, he's in his 30s.
But he looks good.
Yes, he does.
And he's got a unique style. He's got good charisma. So he brings something to the table. And I learned from the Cowboy many, many years ago, Bill hired guys that he didn't like at all, but he knew they drew money. So that was his priority, which it should have been. He was one-man band. So bringing guys in that would draw money would just help everybody on the card when you start to think about it. You know, a lot of guys made a lot of money during the Attitude Era thanks to Stone Cold and The Rock. But The Rock and Stone Cold made it the most. They were in main events. They were on top, and but you can't discount the fact that it helps the whole roster because everybody, in one way or the other, shares in the payoff.
I do want to ask you about a few other names, but before we do, I want to ask: have you seen this? Hey, AEW. I guess I said that wrong. With RJ City and Dean Malenko. Have you seen that?
You know what? I meant to watch it, and I did listen to a little of Malenko's hilarious.
The
So
man
sharp.
of 1,000 positions.
Yeah.
How great is that? And I feel like if he was here right now, he would manage to get us in a hold where I transitioned to Blue Chew